We all know someone or have that friend that has talked our ear off about a guy, a relationship, and you listening on the outside know that this is a toxic relationship. You know that she's being manipulated or that the situation it just does not serve any parties here. And most likely, being the good friend that you are in the support system, you have been there and provided advice more than once, probably, in kind ways, in a little bit more direct ways, yet for some reason, your beautiful, smart, intelligent, successful friend just cannot see the reality of the situation. Now, why is that? Everybody on the outside can see, so why is it that these people cannot see? It's because they lost in the sauce. They in it. And when you're in it, it's harder to see because you don't even know you in it. Hi, my name is Christine. I'm also known as Red Raven. For years, I've studied something that most people overlook: patterns. Real life data that our reality gives us every single day, every moment. As a psychic, I've learned that reality will give us hints and clues before it gives us answers. Now, it's part of our responsibility to be aware of these clues and patterns. And my job here is not to tell you what to do, but to help you see maybe something that you've been overlooking or haven't been aware of at all. So, for today's video, why is it that people stay in toxic relationships? Why is it that they go through the same cycle with the same person, with the same situation over and over and over? And also, if they've, let's say, jumped to another relationship because that one was not working out, the same type of patterns, the same type of lessons repeat themselves. Now, why does that happen? From an outside perspective looking in, this can be very obvious. Not always, but it can be, especially if you know the person, if you know what's been going on for some time. There are patterns and things that have been repeated over a course of time that tells you a deeper story into what's happening here. And so when it comes to people leaving toxic relationships, why is it that they can't? Most of the time, the hope that they have regarding the relationship outweighs the reality of what's actually being shown to them. And this can look something like, well, I believe that they can change. They like to focus on bigger milestones, buying a house, getting married, having kids. When that happens, then that person will finally become the person that I've been wanting them to be and that I've been asking for. Another common thing is, oh, maybe it's me. It's not them, it's me. If when I get better and I fix myself, then they finally will also fix themselves. Hmm. Does that sound kind of familiar? Every time we ignore the reality, hope fills its blanks. And it's not coming from a grounded, practical place. And the thing is, as humans, we naturally, especially women, I feel like we naturally want to nurture and give love and be in happy, lively, whimsy, comforting type of energy, right? We just naturally are that. I mean, girls, little girls, when we grow up, we watch princess movies, we do coloring, we do crafts, we play dress up, we play like, taking care of a little baby. So, all these things, we generally are the peacekeepers. We generally are the ones who want to make things better. And even if that is at the detriment of ourselves, we love to have that fantasy or the hope that it can be possible for us. I mean, especially growing up watching movies where like the Prince Charming comes in and things like that. So we have to be understanding of the type of conditioning that's also been placed on us as a society and the roles that women are expected to play. And so I do feel like, that could be another tangent, but it does correlate to why we want to hold on to hope, even when our reality tells us otherwise. And all of these things I'm talking today are my observations and things that I have just observed, things that I've just witnessed through my clients and my personal experiences. I hope that today you get something really exciting and thought provoking out of this video. And I understand that toxic relationships, I don't know the whole history, right? But there are patterns and signs that have been repeated through the person's character and then individually through you, but then also through the experiences and the journey that you have gone together of how somebody responds to certain things. All of this is data for us to understand the reality, the practical reality that is being shown to us, and then also if we're just hoping for something that our reality has already shown us. Okay. Another thing with that is like when you're in it, man, anything somebody tells you about like, hey, like this is kind of sus, this is kind of sketchy. I don't know if this is the right person for you because they doing X, Y, and Z. That's a pretty big red flag, and this has been a consistent theme with this person. If you have the rose-colored glasses on, you ain't gonna see it. You're not going to want to hear it. And the thing is, you're probably nodding along with what they're saying, but then you're like, yeah, but like maybe they can change. I also haven't been so good in X, Y, and Z. So, and then the cycle continues. I want to move into like why this is so dangerous and detrimental if it's not handled, because I have just seen women and also men, but like mostly with the women that I work with, I have seen them lack clarity in other areas of their life. Like how you do one thing is how you do everything. It shows us just like how reality is data and how I can see what kind of person you are at work, for example, and then what kind of person you are in your relationships. There are certain fill in the blanks that I'm able to fill just by making a pretty, what's it called, like a good judgment call on like what is the probability of where this is going and what they may do. And I don't think people realize that they give themselves away in their words and their behavior and their body language and all of that. So, a person who confuses reality with hope in their toxic, abusive relationships is not going to see clearly in other areas. The rose colored glasses are on and they refuse to take it off because taking it off would mean shattering the reality of what they had in here. And the thing with intuition, everybody wants to be like, how can I strengthen my intuition? How can I get, accurate messages and all this? It first starts with trusting that intuition. And if your intuition brings you something to the forefront and you ignore it, if you ignore it repeatedly or second guess yourself, doubt that repeatedly, that muscle, that intuition is going to weaken. Your ability to know within an instant is going to weaken. Your ability to know what is it that you even want. Then who are you even? Because who is the person that wants that thing? And so this trickles into other aspects of life. The woman who most likely dates unavailable men often also stays at the job that they don't like for way too long. Almost like they are waiting for something to come in and kick them off of their position. Okay. It doesn't have to be like that, y'all. We don't have to get to the point where it's like you're forced out. Do you know what I mean? Another thing with like the work scenario is like, being in a space where you are not valued, you are not respected. And it's pretty clear in the way that your boss treats you or your coworkers treat you. We are responsible for the things that we tolerate. And we train people how to work with us. We train people how to show up when they come into contact with us. So if you're someone who is entertaining toxic relationships that you should have left a freaking long time ago, you most likely are not going to be leaving that job either. But you'll complain. You'll complain and sit there and complain about how much you don't like it. But you won't actually take the steps to make that happen, to shift your desired destiny, your outcome. You're forcing yourself literally to be in that position, the thing that you don't want to be in. This allows you to be greatly taken advantage of. And you may not even know it. That's the thing. That's the thing that is so dangerous. You may not even know it. You're literally in the lion's mouth and you have no freaking idea that you're in the lion's mouth? And so you may think you have the power, I recommend looking at other areas of your life, especially your relationships. Who really has the power in your relationships? So, going back to when you ignore your intuition, you ignore the reality, and you ignore the signs. The paradox is that the longer you're in it, the more normal it becomes. You feel like, oh, well, this is just how it's supposed to be. Because that stimulus of, in the beginning, it being kind of like a shock, you've gotten so used to that stimuli that it's like, it doesn't even feel like, you don't even feel it hitting you anymore. So I can think of, for example, like in Korean skincare, there's like the micro needling lotions, and when you put it on the first time, gah, the first time I put it on, I was like, ow, it hurts so bad, and I had like the smallest needle size, so it wasn't even that big. But then over time, I didn't even realize it hurt anymore, and so that's just like an example of how we can get desensitized to whatever's being thrown at us. Ooh, toxic communication. For example, if you're around someone who just kind of belittles you or condescending in the way that they speak about, let's say, your successes or the things that bring you joy, and you're so used to that, for example, like parents, the way that they talk to some children, I'm kind of like, oh my God, like what they don't realize is that that narrative, that type of tone or language or whatever you speak to your child, like it repeats like a record player in their head, especially in like their youth and adolescence. So we see a lot of adults actually repeating like word for word, like a record player, things that their parents have told them, and it's things that they don't even believe themselves, but has been repeated so many times that they don't even realize. When it comes to leaving toxic relationships, there is a type of cycle that occurs, a journey. There are certain key points that are universal and common in many of our relationships with people when it comes to this topic. And not being aware of where you are on that journey, I believe, is a big factor to why people continue the loop and why they become stuck. Because there's no really like framework out there that helps us understand or navigate this difficult circumstance. And especially with people having to go through it alone, it can feel really scary. And when you're in it, I'm telling you, when you're in it, you cannot see clearly. And I know we've all been there to some type of degree, right? There's this one study that made me think about this, which is the flea study. It's where fleas were put in this jar, and the jar was like covered with a lid, and the fleas in there tried jumping out. They would hit the lid, and over time, they continuously like jumped lower and lower so that they won't hit the lid when fleas are really exceptional jumpers. So they would hit the lid and then eventually they just stopped trying. And so the experimenter, what they did is they removed the top lid. And what do you think they found is actually shocking because the fleas did not try to jump out. Their freedom was right there in the open, but did not try to jump out. And that's because they were so conditioned into thinking that that top was there, that barrier, that it prevented them from reaching their full potential or for actualizing or even trying. And so that just shows you like how you could be so oblivious to your surroundings and your ability for escape or freedom or to see something higher because you're really in it. So sometimes, when you have people on the outside seeing and you have the people that love you and are able to guide you and be like, "Hey, you definitely in that jar right now and the top is open. So what you gonna do about it?" So yeah, most people repeat the loop or get stuck at certain key points because at certain key points, certain different thoughts come up and all that. I actually have created a framework that I would love to share with you guys once I figure out how to do that whole like email list thing and share it to y'all. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. What is the detriment to this? Why are we even talking about this? The reason why I'm talking about it is because it costs so much energy. I don't think y'all even realize. Costs so much energy to be entertaining toxic negative relationships because the energy that is being exchanged is most likely not even. That's why it's toxic. Like addicted to a relationship or addicted to that feeling. While your intuition is like screaming at you, your reality has been screaming at you with all these patterns and signs and being like, everything is pointing that we are unhappy. This is not the right person, but something is keeping us tied down here. The most expensive thing is that you lose your trust with yourself over time. You lose your ability to make decisive decisions over time. And especially when it comes to relationships, romantic, like when emotions, deeper emotions get involved, it can be really difficult and it can cloud our perception, our awareness, our judgment. Living a life where you don't trust your own decision making or your own intuition is expensive as fuck. Every ignored intuition tells your nervous system, my voice doesn't matter. My judgment does not matter. What kind of life would it be if we constantly are looking externally for validation or for them to help us make a decision? We all know those people that even need help picking something on the menu or picking, they can't make a decision. What does that say about that person in their everyday life? It's a very dangerous path to follow. And it's extremely important that if you recognize this within yourself, that you're able to at least be aware and at least try everything possible to really hone in on the voice inside and get really close with that. Because, like we mentioned earlier, the more that you ignore your intuition, the quieter it gets. Everybody wants to save more money, reduce the stress, be confident in their shit. So I want whoever's watching this, or if this is for somebody, that what would a world be like when everybody is so in alignment with their truth? The discernment is on another level. Everyone is able to identify when something is distorting the truth, manipulating the truth, and we hold people accountable. And this is why I'm making these videos to help people understand the signs and patterns that they're seeing and understand where they are on this path and journey. Relationships are a part of life, and everyone has their shadow and light sides. It's just a part of the story and understanding this thing called life and understanding what is it that we are here to do and what is this reality, this world. As a psychic, like I have been told that, Christine, what you're seeing is like they don't even, like, I don't know how you're connecting those things. And I'm just like, there's always patterns and data that is repeated in the reality, even though you may not understand why X, Y, and Z is connected, but you have to look at the context and you have to look at the frequency, see things from a practical, logical perspective while also being able to detach and have that level of hope, optimism, and positivity. I wouldn't be talking about this stuff if my reality has not confirmed that data. I've seen it in my own life, I've seen it in my client's life, and this is something that everybody has the ability to do. It's just about seeing it through a certain lens. And also, like, let's say you're with that person that you think that you want to be with so bad, but what if that person is literally keeping you from your actual dream partner? You know what I mean? So when someone tells me that they don't know what to do, they feel stuck, I don't listen to what they say. I listen to the patterns that they repeat, the behaviors, the thought patterns, because repetition, again, is data. As girls, something that really, when I was making this video, came up was, have you ever like liked someone and then like something happens where you finally don't like them and then you realize you come out of the freaking fog and then you realize like, ew, how did I like that guy? Like, ew, like he's so ugly. Like, I can't believe I fell for that. And everyone is like, yeah, girl, what the hell were you thinking? Like that moment where you're just like, aha, and you just like come out of it and you're just like, oh my gosh, kill me now because I can't believe I fucking did that. Yeah, that's a real thing because you were in it and you didn't even know it. Like, oh my God, it's crazy. I should write a book, say you're in it and you don't even know it. And, what I thought was kind of funny with this is that some people, they only realize how bad the relationship was when they're out of it, right? And then also when they're like in a new one. Some people, n- they don't really learn just by reflecting. Like they have to like be in it, then come out of it, and then be like, huh, yeah, you know what? That past one sucked ass. So it's kind of interesting to see like what kind of person are you, because I'm more so of a reflector. So I definitely would after I came out of it, I'd be like, yeah, I can see clearly why X, Y, and Z was like a red flag and all of that, and how I will use that information going into my next relationship to just make better decisions, right? So yeah, some people need to, I guess, be really in all of the senses to understand their previous encounter until they come to a point where it's probably like the back of their hand and they're able to move through it pretty well. When future shit arises, or they're able to identify other people who are in that relationship. So I'm not, bashing anyone that is in that kind of, anyone that is in a toxic relationship, because it's all part of the journey of understanding humans, relationships, how it is that we're able to walk hand in hand with one another, because in today's society, that's kind of like a lost form. People have forgot the ancient and timeless wisdom of walking one another as man and woman, and those roles have been greatly confused, twisted, distorted, and all of that. So we will get more into that in later upcoming videos when it comes to the deeper reasons of why this is so important. And we're just scratching the surface here, but remember, the reality always speaks in data, patterns, um, different ways that you're able to, even if it's like stuff like a long time ago, like in your childhood, things will repeat even in your adulthood. So it's important that you're able to take note of that. And this is also how I do a lot of my psychic work and my psychic readings. These signs and patterns that repeat come through in adulthood readings like very clearly, and people are like, oh my gosh, they don't even realize the type of patterns that have been occurring for so long. Okay, I actually want to talk about a story that I have with an old coworker who, when I met her, she was in a relationship, and she's been in that relationship for a couple of years. And over the course of working there, which was almost a year and a half to 2 years, she would come crying to work about her man. She wouldn't be able to do certain things because of him, and her whole life revolved around this man. And let's just say he did some pretty messed up things in front of her, had her involved when there was other women involved, and she basically just was there when he needed her, right? And pretty much till the time I left that place, she was still in that situation. And long story short, there was something that happened where she was like, okay, I'm done because I just can't do it anymore because he did something. I can't really remember what it was. But I was like, wow, finally. I'm like, I'm so happy for you, girlfriend. Like, I'll be here for you and all that, right? She also got a free set of nails from me because I really wanted to uplift her spirits and bring in more of that like positive momentum into her life. Um, Not much time has passed, less than maybe like a week. I found out that she's back with the guy. And you know, at that point I was like so just I can't force her to make a decision when it comes to that. She has to make that decision for herself. But I did take my power in my own hands, and I stopped feeding or entertaining kind of the cycle of it, of just like being there, listening, and providing guidance, even when she wouldn't take it. I stopped doing that. I couldn't keep providing that space for her because she was choosing to take the toxic route, which is exactly what I was trying to help her get out of, or help her see clearly her situation so that she can free herself from what seemed like on the outside pretty obvious, but she could not see it from the inside. And so this is like another thing where a lot of people will feel really comfortable talking again and again and again about their situation, and I believe that this is a form of transmutation, especially when you're sharing this story with a friend. It's like you're sharing that the weight of it and going back and forth, it does start to transform. And not in the way that you're thinking, right? But it does give that person who's talking about it more energy, if that makes sense. I'm still working on ways that I can kind of articulate this, but overall, I just refuse to keep entertaining this story and had to cut it off with her regarding this as well because it was going against what I believed in my own morals and ethics when it comes to standing up for yourself and when it comes to, there's a certain point, right, where like the pattern has been there very loud and clear. And if somebody refuses to see that pattern, it's not my responsibility. And I feel like a lot of people, do tend to entertain their friends just because they feel like, I'm supporting them by being here and being a place where they can come back to. But the thing is, what they don't realize is that they're just feeding that loop again and again and again. If anyone is in that situation, I just recommend being firm on the boundaries of like how far that can go when it comes to them venting to you, because if they're really not going to do anything about it, like, do you really want to keep listening to the same thing? You already know what she's going to say. So I want to ask you guys a question. Like, if this relationship did not change for the next 10 years, like, would you still be in it? Sometimes we really do have to frame it that way because it's like, can you see yourself there still if nothing changed? And also, if your friend was going through this relationship, let's say your best friend, what is it that you would tell her? And the reason why we even phrase the question like that is because when you're in it, you can't see it. When you're in it, you are so in the sauce, you don't even know that you're in it. But when we change the question and phrase it in a way where we change the POV, it's a lot easier to see things clearly. So I recommend that you try that. And also, you can try it with somebody that is going through this right now. Whew. On this channel, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look at the different undercurrents, the different patterns that reality shows us regarding our relationships and our environments, and how we can take proactive action when it comes to transforming those parts of our life so that we can live the life that we truly want without permission to live it, without feeling like an obligation, fear, or guilt or shame around choosing what we believe is right for our life. So every week, we'll study the hidden patterns of relationships, and money, your friendships, environment. There's every aspect that we can think of that this may apply to. The reason why is because our reality shows us the signs and speaks long before it screams. And I know how difficult this can be walking through it alone. Most people, honestly, a lot of people don't have that support system that they can freely just vent to. And talking about, things that may be going wrong in your relationships is very vulnerable. And there are people that don't want to seem like they're going through things, right? But you don't have to go through it alone. I've also gone through this same exact thing in my relationships. Oh my gosh, multiple times, more than I can count. And so I know how the journey can feel very confusing and how it can just go and go and go and go in circles and circles until something has to come down where it like just breaks your paradigm and just breaks everything. And we don't want that, right? If we're able to prevent the consequences of constantly ignoring our reality, we're going to lessen the blow as much as possible. We're going to do the work, front load it so that it doesn't have like a chaos tower moment that comes after that. So I help people get clear on what their relationship is really about. And I have a deeper hope that I can help people connect with their heart space and know that being sensitive is not a weakness. How we can be articulate in what we need and how we can direct the flow of our relationships in a more positive direction in our societies and within our personal relationships as well. I say I have really big hopes for this. Everybody has their own unique story, everybody has their own unique relationships, yet the journey is remarkably similar. And you don't have to go through it alone. So, what pattern keeps repeating in your life? And are you choosing hope over reality? If you would like to work with me further one on one on your unique situation, my Calendly links are down below. You can also shoot me an email or comment down below and let me know how this relates to you if you have any stories. And send this video to someone if you're like, hey, you really need it. Send this video to somebody that you can think of that it might help. Reality speaks in patterns before it speaks in consequences. I'll see you back in the nest.